So brain fog, memory, concentration, and focus issues, making you less effective at work, and just in your home and life in general. I want to talk about that today because I know there's people have a lot of concern about that because they don't want to be ineffective in their life and they don't want to feel like their head is always spinning. Hi, my name is Rochelle Walsh, and I have been a clinical therapist for the last 25 years. I'm a complex trauma therapist, so I do a lot of work around helping people break free from chronic stress and overwhelm to being calm and confident in their emotions. And I think, one of the things that can really get missed is when people have not considered themselves, they don't want to go by a diagnosis. They don't want to have to, deal with Band-Aid solutions. So they've just been really stuck in a very, operating at a very high stress level, but maybe it looks like, just bound to getting things done and being super effective and achieving at a high level, maybe very perfectionistic, high standards for themselves, kind of the go-to person. They're very resilient, and so it's not easy for them to not get things done. It's not very easy for them to ask for help or complain about a problem. They're just kind of used to pushing through and getting things done. They're very comfortable doing, probably more comfortable doing than being, and but they start to notice that it's catching up with them. So symptoms of their mind constantly racing, not being able to shut it off, not being able to relax, I've had people tell me even when they're laying on a beach, they feel like they need to get up and get their steps in because it's not okay to just relax. And they start to notice that it's harder to be present. It's harder to focus. Tasks take them longer. They're forgetting things. They're having a hard time getting good sleep. So they wake up feeling fatigued and exhausted. They're, sluggish throughout the day. They want to, grab caffeine to have a quick pick-me-up. This is really indicative of a nervous system that's stuck in overdrive, because when that stress response is turned on chronically, what happens is that the regions of our brain that are scanning for danger in worst case scenario are really given, they're activated the most in that lower region of the brain, that fight or flight center, the amygdala. And what starts to actually happen, and I know when I went to trainings years ago where they would show brain scans and, when people were in a high stress state, what parts of their brain light up, and then you can actually show brain scans that show like the actual size. So actually when we're in a stress response, this part of our brain, our prefrontal cortex that we use for executive reasoning, actually isn't getting the firing and blood flow that it would otherwise. So when our nervous system is in this inflammatory state of chronic stress, we will have a hard time. The hippocampus that specializes in memory actually shrinks. It's not as robust as it is in someone who's been, in a state of relaxation. So there are physical things that happen to our brain and our cognitive function when we are in chronic stress. And over time, the impact of that continues to magnify. So it's not probably, early Alzheimer's or dementia, but it is something to pay attention to, cognitive decline. So we know that when we do things like vagus nerve activation and breath work and things to regulate the nervous system and bring focus back to exercising the parts of our brain that really help keep us present and calm and engaged, that all of a sudden, people can slow their mind and they can focus and they can have memory and they can notice things other than the things that need to be done. And so it's really important to understand that this isn't a character issue. I also hear people say a lot of times that's just how I'm wired. I'm just a worrier, or I'm just a type A. But understanding that this is really something that can be fixed. And just because maybe at one point you always had to be a worrier, or hypervigilance was wired in at an early age, or you didn't have the opportunity to play and relax and create because you were always worried about making everything okay for everyone, or you just learned that achievement was, how you got to safety, or to be able to do everything for everyone felt really good. I mean, there's a payoff with achievement, right? It feels really good. People thank us, people congratulate us. And it's not that we shouldn't achieve or be successful. We can actually be more of who we were created to be and use our gifts fuller when we can relax and use that creative part of our brain that really also is not active. That's part of problem solving, is when we're in a stress response, we have a hard time coming up with things that are outside of the box. Someone entered my program last year and was saying she felt like the answers were right there, but there was some kind of block and she just couldn't get to it. And so while she was striving to figure it out, once she just focused on calming and doing those things, then the creative part of our brain offered up solutions, right? Here's how we should fix that. Here's an idea for that. So, calming doesn't make us less effective in life. It really can cause our brain to be in better balance, where we can use all parts of our brain and the wisest parts of our brain to problem solve and get things done. So just know that, cognitive decline is an indication of a high stress response. I'm not saying that's the only thing it could be. I'm not a doctor. My husband practices functional medicine, and I know sometimes, health issues can really cause brain fog and irritability. But again, that's inflammation, right? Inflammation in the body, and a chronic stress response is inflammation in the nervous system. So if you're noticing those memory issues, exercise that you do repeatedly. Again, I couldn't tell you in one video the exact things to do, but things that really activate parts of the brain where we're feeling into the body and increasing the ability to be present and still calm those beta waves. So things like breath work and mindfulness and, meditation. And I'm a Christian, so I, use Christian principles incorporated with that. Vagus nerve activities, brain-based strategies. But to know that you can't outthink it. So a lot of times when people are having concentration issues or memory issues, they become very frustrated with themselves. They might, start shaming themselves. And again, that is going to be something that activates a stress response. So how we respond to the symptoms we have will either allow us to kind of move into practices that will help calm that response, or they will compound the stress response. So when people are talking about fatigued and not feeling energy, I like to encourage them to think about the fact that if they are in a chronic stress response, and probably have been for years, or maybe they're just in a season where things have been really, really, where they're noticing that in their body, it's like their nervous system is sprinting all the time, and you're going to be exhausted. You're not going to have your best form, so being able to really learn and teach the body, the brain, the nervous system to relax, teach the brain, the body, the nervous system to release those outdated patterns, teaching the brain, body, and mind to release stored survival stress. All of those things are things that can be done in, I have my women practice their exercises 15 minutes a day. This does not have to be, 2 hours of concentrated self-care. You don't need to read another self-help book. You don't need to be consuming more information. It's the slow and steady implementation, 15 minutes a day done consistently. That's the other thing about neuroplasticity when we're talking about cognitive function, that we get a new set of neurons every day and we can create new neural pathways. But once we lay down those pathways, we have to repeat so that we can solidify and create that, what we call unconscious competency, meaning we don't have to think so hard about it, right? We have to set the intention. We have to be willing to take someone who takes action toward that. We have to practice strategies daily. And then those just become part, like I don't have to think every day about whether or not I'm going to brush my teeth. I just know that I'm going to brush my teeth because I'm someone who values oral hygiene and the women I work with. And if you're someone who wants better health, better mental well-being, if you want to live vibrantly, if you want to be joyful and present, connected to the people in your life, if you want to be able to be sharp cognitively into your 70s and beyond, then you need to become someone who has good emotional and nervous system health hygiene. And that's what we really teach, is being able to instill those things so that they just become part of who we are, not something, having a toolbox full of strategies that you have to reach for, but constantly going around being triggered and fighting your mind back and forth, that's exhausting, right? But when you do things consistently and you develop new neural pathways for calm, all of a sudden your brain is functioning the way it was supposed to function, right? And then your memory, you can remember things because you're recording them. You're actually present with them. Part of why we have memory issues is we're not present. Our mind is running over here, so we're not present. And also, again, under stress, that hippocampus that specializes in memory is covered with cortisol receptors. So when our brain is when the part of our brain that we use for memory is covered with cortisol receptors and we're in a constant stress response, what happens to that hippocampus? It shrinks. So, but through the right practice, we can make that robust. The insula, part of our brain that feels into our sensations in our body and helps us know what we need to take care of ourselves. That part of the brain, again, shrinks when there's been trauma. So we do the right things in the right order, and really all the things that we were just talking about in this video, cognitive function and problem solving and being able to get things done and be present, all of that's totally achievable. But you really need to understand what it is you're dealing with and know that it's not another book about time management that's going to set you free. It's not, cutting back on work hours. This is an internal process, and the solution has to be one that really works in the right part of the brain at the right time. It has to be done consistently. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you like this content, subscribe and like my videos. I'm also going to put below, there's a link to watch a free masterclass that I have that describes the things in the brain that I'm talking about, as well as my program for women, Joyful and Present 90-day program, where I work in a very close support way, high training, high support way for people, women that want to go from overwhelmed to calm and confident in their emotions. You can check out that masterclass. If you're interested in more content, subscribe to my video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next training.